Now, imagine what it would be like when you find out that you're expecting a child. In this country, it doesn't seem to be a worry that people think, will we be able to get to a hospital? Will we be able to have the treatment that my wife needs in order to make sure that the baby arrives safely? Well, in other countries, that is not the case. And we've been working with Compassion now for a few months. They're our official breakfast show sponsor. Any organisation that say that they're the breakfast show sponsor, they're not. It's Compassion. They're the official ones. And did you know that child survival rates around the world, they are dependent on, I guess, where the people live and also the resources that they've got. So that's why we've brought on Tim this morning to tell us a little bit more about this. Good morning.
Good morning, Gareth. How are you doing? All right?
I'm not so bad. You could have been a bit more Christmassy.
Well, I just come nowhere near you, do I? That's a great jumper.
I was concerned that it was a little bit over the top. Now, the options I could have had was just a Santa Claus on the front, which was a normal blue jumper with a Santa Claus on the front, or this one. And I thought, you know what? Let's go all out. You, on the other hand, Christmas Eve, you're going for there. A dark Christmas Eve night.
A dark Christmas Eve night. I think that's the way it should be, really.
So you're a well-travelled man, Tim. With Compassion, you've been all over the world to see the great work that they do. And you'll be able to tell us a little bit more about this because it ties in nicely, actually, with the Christmas story of Mary and childbirth and being in the stable and all this kind of stuff.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, what a great time of year this is. You know, we think of the savior of the world coming, being born in such a humble environment. And that's not too far removed from much of what many people in the world are born into right now. Can you imagine how Mary felt, the uncertainty and all the rest of it? She just had a long journey. She's going to Bethlehem. She's heavily pregnant. She's on a donkey. There's nowhere, no nice hospital or no nice hotel to take them in. And they find themselves, round the back in the stable, and she gives birth to the baby Jesus, in the straw. And I remember, Gareth, being in Rwanda one year, and they took us to a little home. It was upright poles really close together, basically. There was not much of a roof. And basically the family, and there was a mom, there was a dad, there were a child of about 6, there was one of about 4, there was another one of about 2 years of age, and then mum had a little tiny baby just on her back. She'd not long given birth to this baby in this place, just a little shack. And there also were some goats as well. And so the family were living in amongst with the goats, and this was the situation. Desperate poverty, actually. And my heart went out to this family, and that story is repeated so many times around the world, and the challenge is that, when there is that lack of healthcare or support for pregnant mums, the reality is that children don't always make it. And, we talk a lot about child mortality rates. If you compare the current rate here in the UK, it's about 3.5 children for every 1,000 live births. That's still bad. Nobody wants any child to die, and that's heartbreaking. But then you look at places around the world like Burkina Faso. It's 85 children don't make their first birthday per every 1,000 live births. Or in Ethiopia, under ones, it's 35 per 1,000 live births. And that climbs to 48.7 per 1,000 live births, and children under the age of 5, because yes, that first year is the most vulnerable, but still, many children dying under the age of 5. And so these are big figures. And, you know, our hearts really go out to mums, you know, who are broken because they've lost their children. I don't know if you saw the news report on BBC the other day, but linked in with the food crisis. You know, they were looking at Somalia, and there was a couple of mums that they were doing a feature on, and one mum had just buried her third child, and another mum was on baby number two. And wow, you know, can you imagine how that must feel? Because
And
there's no support there to help those families.
you're obviously no doctor, and believe it or not, neither am I. But
Exactly.
these are situations which could be prevented if they weren't in poverty. So that's why the numbers are different, because in this country, we've got an incredible healthcare system. And, you know, it was only 9 weeks ago, in fact, that my wife was giving birth to Gabriel.
Mm,
And there was a part of me that was so grateful whilst we were sat
mm.
there in the hospital. I didn't have to worry about actually if something doesn't quite go to plan here, what will happen, because
Yeah.
we had the experts on hand. And we're so blessed. And sometimes in this country, quite a lot of the time, actually, we forget about how blessed we are to have this
Mm,
healthcare system. And like Tim said, you know, mortalities do happen, and that doesn't mean that they're trivial in this country. Of course, it's not. But they're happening less in this country simply because of the resources we've got and the money that we've got. So, Tim, just tell us, because we will come back to you in a minute, but we need a bit of thinking time really on this. What can compassion actually do to make sure that this situation improves?
sure. Well, that's why some years ago they started the Child Survival Program, where the regular child development sponsorship program started at the age of 3. But what about the babies before that? What about those that weren't making it, those that were really struggling with the challenges of poverty? And so many of our projects began child survival programs, as a kind of bolt-on program, but it's very much an integral thing that we do now, where we would the project would select a number of mums in that community that were really in desperate circumstances, and register them on the child survival program. And now, as a result of all of that, maybe we'll talk about some of those things in a minute. The lives of those mums, those babies, are very different to what they would have been. So, compassion are doing our bit to help that whole situation.
And whilst we play this song, which is perfect, and I didn't select it, it was just there ready and waiting, Governor B with Blessings Fall on Me. I want you to head over to the Compassion website, compassionuk.org, and have a look on there and, do you know, have a think, have a pray about what may well be God saying, this is the time to help. This is an opportunity to help people who are less fortunate than you. Just maybe. Go to the website, compassionuk.org, and we'll be back talking more about this after Governor B. Appropriate song, isn't it? Governor B and Blessings Fall on Me. And to be honest, in this country and most Western countries, blessings do fall on us. But sadly, it's not quite as straightforward for people in other countries. And that's why we've got Tim from Compassion UK, our breakfast show sponsors here. That's Compassion and not Tim. It isn't Tim who is sponsoring the breakfast show. Although maybe in the future we could have individuals sponsoring other shows. Just an idea. So this is really important stuff that we're doing here. And the work that Compassion do, it continues throughout. And it's not a case of they only do it during certain seasons and they only do it during the summertime. It's always there and it's helping. It's developing people and giving them a future. You can find out more at compassionuk.org. But just before you head over there, let me and Tim have a natter about this child survival program. What do we need to know, Tim?
Well, it's just such a great program. Whenever I go to one of our countries where we're working, I always enjoy a visit to a child survival program. It's full of mums that are together and happy. Why? Because there's hope now. Because there's a change in their circumstances, because somebody is interested in helping them and working with them and with their baby. And so when they come, they're pretty broken. They may have been through all kinds of very, very challenging situations, and really have a lack of hope. But once they're registered onto that program, immediately that healthcare kicks in, those kind of pre checks in their pregnancy, working with them in that all the way through to a safe delivery. So many babies are lost because there aren't the safe kind of facilities for delivering a child, and yet compassion will make that happen. And so the baby is born healthy, and if there's a problem, we will be around to make a difference in that situation and provide the most appropriate health care. But then also the whole antenatal stuff and post care that a woman will receive. So she's going to be ahead of so many other people in similar circumstances. And we'd love to do the same for everybody, but we can only do what we can for those that we have the capacity for at the time. But their lives are being changed, and the babies are growing up healthy, and they're having a great start at life. So they're getting their health checks, they're getting the weighing and the measuring, and they're getting the inoculations, and they're getting good nourishment and whatever. The mum is being taught good parenting skills and nurturing the child. But also, how do we help the mum to be able to help this baby even more? Does she need to provide? So is there kind of income generation activities that we can help them with so that they can stand on their own 2 feet and help their young family as well? So this is really exciting. And above all, with everything else we do, it's always about introducing them to the one who did come into the world, the one who was born in very, very humble circumstances, because we believe he's the hope of the world. And when people meet with him, their lives take on a whole new meaning. And these women, they're just transformed. Great to see the smiles on their faces, Gareth, and the difference that the survival program makes into their lives. It really is exciting.
A message in from Claire, and she says, does this mean that the child, before it's even born, is sponsored?
No, once the child is born, we now sponsor them from pretty much birth, but certainly from the age of 1. So it always used to be 3 years of age. So you can now sponsor a child right the way from, from birth, pretty much. Yes. So they'll still be cared for within the child survival program, and there'll be home visits and everything through to the age of 3. But at the age of 3, they will then be able to join in the wider activities of the child development sponsorship program.
So just to make it clear, when you sponsor a child, potentially a bit of that money, it's £28 a month, will be going to this program as well.
The money really, if you are sponsoring a child, then that is going to advance the development of the child that you sponsor. However, we have other funding that goes towards child survival. You can see that on the website. Just go to donate, and there's a drop down there, and you can see different ways, different things that you can donate to. There's interventions. If you click on interventions, you can see child survival. That's one way. And we have churches and different groups and individuals that will sponsor a child survival program over the course of a year, maybe. And that's something like about £10,000 or £12,000. But because now we're also allowing people to sponsor a child right from when they've been born, that adds to the funds that are necessary to run the program as well.
I'm just on there now, in fact. So if you head over to compassionuk.org and you click donate, there are different opportunities. There's the child survival, there's water, there's health, there's stability, education, and child protection. So maybe there's one of those which is really close to your heart. Well, you can make a difference. And the thing is that we talk a lot about child sponsorship, which is a monthly donation, which is great. And we encourage you to go and do that. But maybe that's not where you are at the moment. And maybe you will prefer to make a one-off donation, which will go to help these different campaigns that Compassion are doing. Well, it's really easy to do, and you can donate securely. Of course you can. £10, £25, or £50 as one-off gifts to go to maybe this child survival intervention that we've been talking about. It's all on the website. Give yourself a few minutes, get yourself a warm drink, give yourself a few minutes to head over to the website and take a gander on there. It's compassionuk.org. And I just want to give this a quick mention as well, because I've seen it advertised on your website. I mean, I was going to mention it anyway, because apparently I'm a professional, but Carols with Compassion, where if you can't make it in person, you can watch it online, can't you?
Absolutely, yeah. Through TBN, we have got a great relationship with them, and we're able to put together a whole carol service for people to tune into if they can't get out, so they'll enjoy that.
Now, how many strings do you pull at TBN, Tim? Are you in with the people there? Because I've been trying to get on the telly box for quite a long time.
Well, I'm just little old me, Gareth. I don't have that pull really, but we always know somebody who does.
Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. We could be having Gareth. I haven't even thought of a name yet. I'll have to get thinking about this, because according to Tim, it will be my big break in TV next year. Looking forward to that. But if you go over to the website, you'll be able to watch it. And what's really interesting is Janae, who we had on the show last week. He's the host of it, isn't he? The host with the most.
Yeah, of the live carols with Compassion, which is at Woking on this Thursday night, December the 8th. And there's still free tickets available. Just register. We'd love to see you if you're in that area.
Tim, thank you very much, and we'll catch up with you again next week.
Thank you so much, Gareth. Looking forward to it. Happy Christmas. Enjoy wearing that jumper. It looks great on you.